players turned up today for modern action. Yep, we're going to go down to table one again. The confirmatory thumbs up, and it looks like we're already off to the races. So it looks like that Amulet Titan was on the play, and they're able here to get down. Oh no, maybe it doesn't. It looks like the Golgari Reanimator deck is. Oh, they kept to one lander, which is Urza's Saga. Okay, let's talk about this. Urza's Saga not so good when it's your only land in hand.
Well, this might be over very, very quickly. So we have this labeled as Golgari Reanimator. There is a Troxa and Emrakul as the two legendary creatures that you can bring back with Goryo's Vengeance. There's Urza Saga and Cookbook and Asmo as like a little bit of an engine for some value. Obviously, there are some discard spells if you're playing black. You know, Thoughtseize, Inquisition of Kozilek. I think the green cards are only really in the sideboard, though.
Yeah, I can only see him in the sideboard at the minute, which I imagine we'll come on to very shortly as we kept a one-lander with Urza's Saga, didn't manage to hit another land drop. It must be a super explosive hand, just missing maybe with one land drop. There is only 18 lands in this deck, though. We're going to have the Urza's Saga trigger, float one mana in response, and we're going to go get a cookbook. So this deck's a bit spicy, chat. I'm going to give you a little brief rundown before we get it on the screen. It is basically a Urza's Cookbook deck with a Goy's Vengeance twist. So as Martin said, we've got 4 Goy's Vengeance, hitting Atraxes and Emrakuls. And then the rest of it is what you'd kind of expect from a Cookbook deck. Lots of like artifact synergies using Urza's Saga, Cookbook, Brainstones in here. Followed up with a full suite of Thoughtseizes, some Bone Shards, Collective Brutalities, Inquisitions. So it's basically mono black to start off with, and then all the green cards are in the sideboard. Amulet Titan. We don't really need to speak about what this one does. We kind of understand. We're going to be ramping up to 6. We're going to try and play a big Titan and almost win at the same time it comes down. Speaking of the card, here we are.
I think Titan is one of the hardest decks to play.
Oh, I do.
In Modern, like it looks like, yeah, I mean you just tap 6 mana, cast a Titan, right? But it's really easy to like missequence, you know, your plays and to be as proficient with the deck as possible. And you can really tell when somebody has had a lot of experience with the deck because, you know, they just look at the deck, they look at the hand, and they just formulate the perfect game plan for the first 3 or 4 turns, and you have to really think in advance and, you know, make sure that you have all the moves in your head already. Plus, obviously, people are playing a lot of disruption, so it is not the easiest deck to play. And sometimes you should go for, you know, certain land. Sometimes you're going to want Cavern of Souls to play around a counter spell. So, not the easiest deck to play.
Yeah, well, it's a lot easier to play when you can hard cast your Primal Titan into basically an empty board on the other side when your opponent's got no lands. Kind of showing that this is what lands do. We're even getting in there for 0, showing a message. We're going to Cookbook end of turn, discard. That one there being the gimme 2.
Daredevil.
Yeah, thank you very much. Daredevil is going to make itself token. As soon as an artifact's made, it will get returned to hand. So we've got the idea of putting things in our graveyard. That's step 1. But we could do some land to cast these spells, and I'm not sure we're going to get a chance. Nope. We're going to scoop them up. That was a real quick game 1 there, unfortunately for Golgari Reanimator player. But it is closed deck lists. They might not know that there's green cards in the sideboard. In fact, they don't know what cards are in the other side of the deck besides black cards and a cookbook. So here's the deck in its full entirety. This is what we could have seen happen if they got a bit lucky with their land drops.
So I guess the one land hand could have been like Urza Saga, Emrakul, plus like Goryo's Vengeance, and then you know that the Saga is gonna still give you mana on that 3rd chapter before it goes into the graveyard. So you float 1 mana. Presumably you have drawn a land by then, so you can get the cookbook, discard Emrakul, and get it into play with Goryo's Vengeance. So maybe that was a play. Maybe thinking like, hey, this is maybe not a great matchup. You know, something. High
risk, high reward. You know what I mean? If we saw something like a turn 2 Emrakul come down, then we're literally talking about a completely different game, right?
Yeah.
We're missing that one land source to be able to go off. I guess if we did have that sort of hand. But we're going to go to game 2 anyway. So this is the deck. This is the sideboard. How do you feel sideboarding in these sort of matchups? I guess only one deck can sideboard because the other one didn't really see what the other one's doing. They're just like, maybe I need.
Oh, that's true. That's actually true. Yeah, you saw an Urza Saga and a cookbook, so you didn't really know what's going on. But in general, the Primal Titan deck doesn't really want to sideboard too much because your deck is just mostly all the lands you want to fetch. A lot of lands, so you can play Amulet on turn. You can play Titan on turn 3 ideally.
So look at this is a bit of a different sideboard that we're not normally used to. So we've got Dramoka,
I mean,
Dragon Lord Ataka here.
the Relic of Progenitus is obviously coming in because you did see that your opponent was doing something with the graveyard, so an anti-graveyard card sounds pretty reasonable. Boseiju also sounds reasonable. Like they have a bunch of artifacts. Endurance, yeah, that's another graveyard hate card.
That Pajuka Bog. You know what I mean?
Bog,
We've got a lot
yeah.
of hate for the graveyard here. If we've clogged that, there's going to be a full graveyard synergy on the other side. We've got a lot of pieces here that could kind of swing this game for us.
Yeah, and for Dennis, the Golgari player, you already have all the discard spells in the main deck, I think. Maybe there is an extra one in the sideboard, but if you have extra discard or any way you can really like stop your opponent maybe from resolving the Primeval Titan, like that's exactly what you want to be doing.
Yeah, but like Fortseas, I'm a big Yawgmoth player, and it's an absolutely horrendous matchup playing against Amulet Titan. It's mainly the reason we have Fortseas in our sideboard is for this matchup. It really is like such a good card. But if you can take one of their key pieces out of the deck, half their deck is land, even though the lands kind of act as spells at times, especially in this super powerful deck that rewards players. I think even more if you're a master of this deck. I think things with like having the summoners packs, etc., just having a toolbox element on multiple different angles, being able to find summoners pack with your land, and then summoners pack and go off, and yeah.
I didn't catch who won the die roll, but
I think it was the Golgari Reanimator.
Okay, but Alexander's hand was like pretty much perfect, right? Like,
yeah,
double grazer. So there was no even no ramping really. Other than that, there was no like amulet to really do something with something crazy with the lands. Just straight up to Titan, basic mana for it, and yeah, I guess if the opponent has one land in play, it doesn't really matter.
Let's see
how you beat them.
Obviously, with the new lands, now with the garden that Titan's got, it can go off like turn 2. Like the percentage of it going off is so much higher now than it was. Yeah, that's
the Mike Austin garden.
Yeah, that's it.
Gardens.
Yeah, the gardens. Sorry, yes. With that being able to come down, copy an amulet means that like turn 2, turn 3 can start going off. And speaking to the Amulet Titan players in the room, they're saying that this is such an addition to our card. The biggest problem they face at the minute, the fact that Blood Moon's quite heavily played in these Murktide decks, quite heavily played in Scam decks, so it's quite a rough fit battlefield for them. But it's not unwinnable.
I was just recently thinking about that, and the fact that like now all the green decks, especially combo decks, or decks that need their mana base to work. Like, you just have to play 3 Boseijus, or maybe even 4, because you get to destroy all these Blood Moons, and you get to destroy all these, like, Pithing Needles, and whatever is it that stops your combo. But it's kind of nice if you're the combo player, that there is a card that fits into your mana base that answers these cards. But on the other hand, being the other person, trying to stop them from comboing off, and knowing they basically get free answers, that kind of stinks.
It's rough. It's rough. I've been on the receiving end of many Titan beatdowns. We're going to take a mulligan over on the Reanimator side. Imagine we're doing 2 things. We're doing the cookbook strategy plus the Reanimator strategy. Kind of some similarity as in getting pink cards in the graveyard. But if we have the wrong half of our deck, it's not going to work. So taking mulligans, I think, might be quite high in this deck.
Yeah, I think taking a mulligan with this deck seems less punishing than in other decks, because you're kind of just looking for the right combo pieces. And this is a matchup where you know that the Amulet player is not going to have too much interaction to try to stop you from playing Thoughtseize into discard my Emrakul and Goryo's Vengeance. So I think you're kind of just trying to look for the graveyard combo, and just hope that they don't have a turn 1 relic, or that you find a discard spell to get it from their hand.
This might be another 1-lander. But it looks like we're going to get keep on 6. Just deciding which card we want to be putting back. And there it goes to the bottom.
The London Mulligan is so much better than the old Mulligans.
Oh.
Like when we played with Frank with the gold border decks, we're like, should we play with damage and stack and just the old Mulligans? That sounds horrible. Let's just stick with the new rules.
Have some mana burn. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We'll start off with a turn 1 Fortseas, and we see a double amulet.
Double amulet, Urza Saga, and a pact for Primeval Titan.
This is a good hand.
I don't see any bounce lands though.
No, that's...
There's a Valakut, and Urza Saga, I believe, and Slayer's Stronghold.
With the beautiful forest.
But all we need is 1 bounce land off the top, and you can start doing crazy things with double amulet.
Yeah, I forgot what number they kind of generically play. Let's see, 4, 7. 9, 10. So we got 10 basically in the main. So quick math, 1 in 10 chance of drawing it. Probably a little bit higher. And we're just going to play the amulet and pass it back. Turn 2. That one there is, I forgot what the name of it. Papain Shooter, is it? Yes, it's Papain Shooter. See if I can get that up on the screen for
I think
you.
that's suspend 2, and then it does a demonic tutor basically.
Yeah, it has suspend.
Ooh, an explore. All right, well, that can go pretty crazy pretty quickly.
That's what these decks do, right? We are basically a ramp down. If you strip it all the way down, it's just a ramp deck. To get, I say just about in brackets. It's a super explosive ramp deck, especially with the potential of having an amulet on the battlefield.
It's also really hard to, stop from doing their thing because, if you have counter spells, they have Cavern of Souls to make the Primeval Titan uncounterable, and most of their stuff is like in their lands. So even if you have Blood Moon, they have Boseiju, so you kind of need to like stop the amulets. But now with the Urza Saga, they sort of have like 8 copies of it, so it is really hard to stop this deck.
And here comes the second copy. So mana won't be an issue as soon as we find a bounce land, but we will need to start finding a payoff. Maybe we're just going to go the construct route. We could go and find some less play. Yep, we've got a expedition map which we could get off the Saga next turn. That could either go find another Saga and we can just go the token way of beatdowns, or we can go find a bounce land if we potentially draw something like an Amulet Titan. Like a Titan, not an Amulet Titan. A Titan. Piffing Needle.
I think that's a Piffing Needle, right?
What do you name here? Saga? Stronghold? It's interesting. We'll see if we can get confirmation of what that's going to name down on the floor and get that back to you so you can all find out
So
at home.
I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think you can stop Tolaria West from transmuting because it is an ability of the card, I believe.
I think you can. I think I've seen that interaction before.
So that could be a a card to name possibly if you don't want your opponent to transmute Tolaria, get the green pact for Titan. You can also stop Urza Saga from making constructs.
Let's see. It looks like that was an Azusa for the turn. We've still got the Saga trigger on the stack currently. We're thinking, what do we need to do or get? Now there's a cookbook on the battlefield. Potentially, maybe we go get like a way to interact with the graveyard. We could go get the map, crack map into getting Jukapog or something. We'll see. This is why I'm not a Titan player. I am not big brain enough to play this deck.
Oh,
Okay,
Relic.
Relic.
That's a nice
That
one.
will also
Yeah,
do.
That's perfect.
See, that's big brain enough to think that we're going to use the graveyard. There you go.
And this is the best kind of relic. You're gonna get it from Urza Saga, so it's hidden from a Thoughtseize, but you're gonna get it anyway because the Saga trigger on turn 3 is gonna give you a free relic.
And it's done in the old bordered art, which obviously Wizards have been introducing recently in lots of different sets.
I love that, by the way. It's
I
so
do.
good. It's so nice. All cards in my cube, I always just get the one with the old frame instead, so I've been replacing them, and I really like that they keep making new ones and new ones.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that. They made like an old bordered Ragavan, didn't they, online? So on Modo, you can have an old bordered Ragavan, but you can't get it in paper yet. I was like,
I was looking for it in paper. I was like, browsing through a store. I'm like, why don't they have this Ragavan anywhere? Where can I get it? And then someone's like, yeah, it's just on Magic Online. You can actually get that.
one of the okay, it's named Stronghold by looks at it with that point.
So no haste for Primeval Titan or constructs.
Now we get to tutor our deck. What do we need here? Relic can still be used. There is 1 mana floating, so we can try and get some sort of Goya's action going. But then are we going to get a better time to like make them use it? Didn't get a good look, but that's going to go to hand. Still get a draw step for the turn. We're just having a little look. We're looking like, what?
I really want the Reanimator deck to start,
Turning and burning.
doing something cool to affect the board and, start doing all the synergies. And obviously with the Relic in play now, it's going to be a lot harder to try to reanimate the Atraxa or Emrakul, but
Yeah, it's going to be real hard for them to be able to do their game plan, especially when you get Titan starting off with a couple of amulets and sagas. You mean that token already is a 4/4. See if I can get Cookbook up on the screen for you all. Have a little read of that. Discard a card, create a food token, which is obviously pay 2, sacrifice it, gain 3 life. Or pay 4, sacrifice Cookbook, and return type creature from your graveyard to your hand. Has a few synergies in this deck, though. Looks like Gigant is going to hand. Gigant in hand.
so we're seeing both decks
Not doing much.
not really doing much, like not really having, their payoffs. But it is going to be Urza Saga making tokens that, could easily decide this game without Primeval Titan even seeing play.
Get that one up on the screen for you. So, maybe some people in the world haven't seen Urza Saga. If you haven't, welcome to the Legacy European Tour. This is Magic the Gathering, and this card sees a lot of play.
I used to have pretty much all modern cards before the pandemic because we kept playing modern tournaments, modern GPs, modern Pro Tours. And I'm not the type of person that just submits their deck and then between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. tries to get all the cards for their deck before the tournament starts. So I really liked having all the cards. Then, during the pandemic, obviously, we weren't playing any tournaments. I wasn't really playing any paper Magic, so I didn't get anything. And now my friends were asking me, hey, you got any modern cards? When I looked through the decks, I realized that now I have maybe like 20% of the cards that people play. But because all of the new busted cards were in like Modern Horizons 2, that's where, that's the sets that you want to be cracking to get most of the modern goodies these days.
Super powerful sets. Okay, so here's an interaction. We discarded with Cookbook, which lets us play, and I can't pronounce this name.
Asmo.
That's what we're just calling it, is it? Just straight up Asmo.
If you can pronounce it, then you're great.
Someone out there, I'm sure, can pronounce this card. It is a mouthful. Let's see if we can get it up on the screen for you. I'll show you what it does. It's kind of a niche deck. It's one of those ones that, like, in paper, like, looking at it, it looks like it does a lot.
How did they even come up with that? It's like Asmo A. Macarena or whatever.
I think that's the first letter of everyone's name in the office with its R&D. We'll whack it into one name. It'll be fine. Again, it's powerful effects because it can get around different creatures by sacrificing food, dealing 6 damage to each. 6 damage lines up very nice against a Primeval Titan as well.
True. Yeah.
When it comes to the battlefield, we also get to go find another Cookbook. Cookbook in multiples is great if we get one of our payoff cards for it. But it does cost 0 mana, so it's it's hard at times to get on the battlefield if we haven't been able to discard things.
And I'm sure the fact that we're playing with closed deck lists played a big role in deciding, for Dennis what to name with Pithing Needle. Because if you saw Alexander's list and you're like, oh, I guess you're bringing in that Relic of Progenitus from your sideboard because, I'm playing a graveyard deck and you already have Urza Saga in play, I'm just going to preemptively name Relic with my Pithing Needle to stop you from breaking my combo later on. Obviously that was not possible because Dennis doesn't have access to Alexander's sideboard, so that's why I chose to name the Stronghold, so there's no Titan plus haste kind of action. But Alexander doesn't even have red or white mana yet, so we're not near or close to that.
This is turning more and more into an Urza Saga game. Obviously, Cookbook gets championed by a few players, a few content creators online. They really enjoy this sort of interaction. I feel like the deck's 1 or 2 cards off and being half decent, but they'll tell me different. One of them being in chat. Hello, Mr. Doomweek. Welcome. Good morning, wherever you are in the world. I know you're a big fan of the Cookbook synergies. We're going to get another Amulet on the battlefield.
Speaking of content creators, I talked to Lubomir, the guy that played Monored in our previous round, the Monored Tokens deck. And he did mention that he saw Aspiring Spike playing a similar deck like that. I think he maybe had a budget version. He does a lot of Modern videos. So he wanted to give him a shout out for that.
I'm pretty sure like 70% of the meta in this room is the Spine Spike decks at this point.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? If this is your job and you're going to make decks, you know, he's a very good brewer, brews a lot of decks. And we do see them pop up a lot in like challenges at different events because he knows how to attack the meta, you know what I mean?
I think he plays a different deck every single day, and he posts that on YouTube. You know, if you want to see those decks in action, he likes all the crazy combo decks with things that you don't normally see people play. So if you're into that stuff, make sure you check out Aspiring Spike.
Very time. Have you ever met him in real life?
I have not.
He is huge.
Yeah.
He does not look as tall as he is on that camera of his. I've met him and I'm 6'2", and I was looking up. I was like, whoa, okay. I think he's like 6'4" or something. It's crazy.
And you're a big guy.
I'm 6'2" is quite tall.
Yeah.
Quite tall. But not as tall as Mr. Spinner Spike himself. So these tokens on the battlefield are 7/7s currently.
Looks like there might have been some confusion, or players were trying to clear something up. But the third amulet is in play. Still no bounce land though.
We've got to be close. There's one blocker on the other side of the battlefield. The point is here that because now that they are 7/7s, they can't be used or killed by the food tokens. 6 damage will not be able to take these off the battlefield now. So maybe we missed a window to be able to do that. I think we had the option to play another cookbook, right? A second cookbook. But instead we decided to make a construct this time.
Okay, so take one from the land. How many artifacts do we have? We have the cookbook. There's a food token. Yeah, that construct is nowhere near close to the same size as Alexander's.
Let's see. I think as soon as we get something like, a Titan off the top, the game could just be over on the spot.
Urza Saga is really a crazy land. Like, how does a land, like, you basically just played a bunch of lands and didn't do anything, and the land alone is gonna make 6/6s, and that's gonna win you the game.
I remember when it first got spoiled. I think it was one of the first cards spoiled for Modern Horizons 2, and everyone was looking at it like, all right, yeah, I don't really understand how what's the one turn you get to make mana with it.
Yeah.
And then like people start working out how it actually works, and you can do it in your main phase 1, and yeah, things were going pretty crazy with it. And as we see, it's popped up in so many different decks across Modern. I think for the better. I think it's a very good, powerful card. But I like that in this format. I think you should have powerful cards like this, build around cards, so to speak. Let's have a little look.
Well, there's an engineered explosives in the hand for Alexander, but you don't really want to crack it for
Not
one.
ideal in this one
because you have 3 amulets and an relic, so that's not gonna happen. You don't want to crack it for 0 because your own constructs would die, so that doesn't make sense either. So the question is, like, do I want to play it for 1 preemptively because of something, or would I rather keep it in hand? I think keeping open mana for cracking the relic sounds really smart. Because at any point your opponent can, Thoughtseize myself, get Emrakul in the graveyard, go Rio's Vengeance.
I think now that we've dropped down to 5 life, we're even dead to a Dryad off the top. We'll be able to play enough lands with the Azusa in hand. Oh, hold on, what are we doing? We're deciding maybe we want to crack. And both players were still playing to make day 2. We had 1,054 players turn up today to battle out in Modern Action, all trying to get that 7-2 record so they get invited back tomorrow to try and battle out to get into the top 8. We do have 9 rounds today. This is round number 6, and then we're going to bring you 6 more rounds tomorrow before we cut to the top 8. We will be streaming the top 8 announcement live, and then we'll be moving straight into our top 8. So make sure if you haven't hit that follow button, hit that follow button. Or if you just enjoy Magic content, stick around. There's going to be lots of it on this channel in the future with all the future events. I think it's Valencia is the next time that we'll be going live after this weekend. I went out and asked someone, I was watching the stream over in the VIP area, and they don't really play Modern. And they were watching it and they went, all I've seen people do is shuffle.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah, that's basically Modern in a nutshell. That's kind of what happens. We just shuffle a lot and then occasionally try to win the game.
I do like obviously fetch lands, it takes a lot of time. But I do like that this kind of format exists where you just get to use all the good cards in one deck. Like, yeah, playing 5 colors, not a problem. You can just put Triumphs and, Shock lands in your deck and a bunch of fetch lands, and you could just play anything, so.
We were playing those the World's decks that you had yesterday, the 3 color ones, and the mana base is just atrocious.
Undiscovered Paradise, like that's the way to fix, or City of Brass as like the only multiple color land. That's an Emrakul. Warrior's Vengeance.
Did we crack the relic too early?
Oh, there's the entrance.
Oh, rough. Okay, so there's going to be no target for this Goy's Vengeance as it comes up on the screen. Let's see if I can get Goy's. Oh, I think we
That's
just,
GG's, yeah.
that's GG's. That's enough. That was a real quick one. Obviously, unfortunately, we had almost a non-game that game one, keeping a one-lander as a Saga, not getting there. And then Titan just doing Titan things. So congratulations, going to 6-0. But, 5-1 is not the end of the world.
Both decks kind of just failed at doing anything in the second game, but the Urza Saga